Good morning students. As you all know, we have already started with the chapter improvement in crop production, right, where we are trying to improve the quality as well as the quantity of the crops, and then we have discussed one of the factor, that is crop variety improvement. Now today we will be starting with the crop production management. Okay. In India, as in many other agriculture based countries, farming ranges from small to very large farms. Different farmers thus have more or less land, money, and access to information and technologies. See, as you all know, that if we talk about farming in our country, the farmers belong to different economic strata. Some are, low income farmers, some are middle or, average income farmers, whereas some are, are the farmers who are having more money and they are dependent on latest technologies and tools, right? So here it depends a lot upon the tools and the techniques which a farmer is using. If he is using, advanced technologies, definitely the output will be more. If he is, using the basic animals for, plowing, tilling the soil, then definitely the output will be less. So more the input, better will be the output. Okay, so we'll find out ways, how we can improve our crop production. Now let's talk about the crop production management, right? In the previous slide we have discussed that it depends a lot on the money. Right? In short, it is the money or financial conditions that allow farmers to take up different farming practices and agricultural technologies. There is a correlation between higher input and yield. As I told you, it depends on the farmer's purchasing capacity. If he is purchasing, advanced technologies, advanced tools here, definitely the farming will be more, right, and crop yield will be more. Whereas on the other hand, if we are not giving input, if we are still relying on the traditional methods of farming, the output will be automatically less. So let's talk about the various factors. So first we are going to discuss is nutrient management. It's very important. If I talk about you, you as a child, you also need nutrients. If a child is not able to get enough nutrients from its balanced diet, the doctor advises him or her to take a multivitamin. If our body is not able to take it from the diet, we have to depend on the other sources. But here in this point we are going to discuss that which all nutrients crops are absorbing from the soil, which all it is getting from the water, and which all it is getting from the air. Plants get nutrients from air, water, and soil. There are total 16 nutrients required by plants for their proper growth. Air supplies oxygen and carbon dioxide. Water supplies hydrogen, and the remaining 13 nutrients are obtained from the soil. Now these 13 nutrients are further divided into macronutrients and micronutrients, right? So here the 6 nutrients, total 16 nutrients, 6 are required in large quantities and they are called macronutrients, and the names are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. The other 7 are required in small quantities and we call them as micronutrients. Soil can be enriched by supplying nutrients in the form of manures and fertilizers. The micronutrients are iron, magnesium, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, and chlorine. Remember this. So what we have studied, nutrient management, where plants are getting nutrient from air, water, and soil. Yes, very good. Fine. And then 16 nutrients are there out of, air. Out of 16 here, 6 are required in large quantities, they are called macronutrients. Other 7 are required in less quantity or small quantity, and we call them as micronutrients, right? So these are the names. Now here, if the plant is not getting sufficient nutrients, just imagine what will happen. Deficiency of these nutrients affects physiological processes in plants, including reproduction, growth, and susceptibility to diseases. So they'll be prone to diseases, they will not be able to grow well, they will not be able to produce seeds. Okay. To increase the yield, the soil can be enriched by supplying these nutrients in the form of manure and fertilizers. You have already learned the differences between manure and fertilizers. Let's discuss manure. Manure is prepared by the decomposition of plant and animal waste. It contains organic matter and nutrients. It helps to increase soil fertility, as you all know. It also helps to reduce use of fertilizers. See, fertilizers are chemicals, they are not good for the soil. No doubt, with the use of fertilizers, crop yield increases. But if we talk about the long term benefits here, fertilizers in fact, it degrade the soil texture and the quality. And as they are non biodegradable, they enter in the plant body, and when we consume the plant body here, right, it enters in our body, and they keep on keep on adding in our body, and that leads to biological magnification. It is also called as biomagnification. There are two main types of manures, they are compost and green manure. Compost is prepared by the decomposition of plant and animal waste in compost pits. Compost prepared by using earthworm is called vermicomposting. Compost is rich in organic matter and nutrients. It is very much required. We should carry out this at our home also. We should dump vegetable peel and fruit peel, just make a small pit and just dump all this into it, and keep on aerating it, just keep on adding water to it, and then you will observe that it will turn into a black manure, which is very rich, and that can be used for your gardening purpose. Then we have green manure. Before sowing seeds in fields, some green plants like sun hemp, guar, etc. are mixed in the soil by ploughing. Now this also that what will be done before ploughing, these plants will be grown well, and then they will be mulched well along with the soil. So when they will decompose, the nutrients will be mixed with the soil. These plants turn into green manure, which makes the soil rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. Next is fertilizers. Fertilizers are chemical substances which are made commercially. They supply nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium and helps to increase crop yield. Fertilizers should be used only in required amounts. Excessive use of fertilizers can reduce soil fertility and also cause water pollution. You already know the differences, So fertilizers are going to affect a lot. Fertilizers should be applied carefully in terms of proper dose, time and observing pre and post application precautions for their complete utilization. For example, sometimes fertilizers get washed away due to excessive irrigation and are not fully absorbed by the plants. This excess fertilizer then leads to water pollution, right. So here, continuous use of fertilizers in an area can destroy soil fertility because the organic matter in the soil is not replenished. These fertilizers will be affecting the microorganisms, it is going to affect the soil fertility, right. And here short term benefits definitely are there, but if we talk about the long term benefits, it is not good for the soil. On page number 207, they have mentioned about one index question. Compare the use of manure and fertilizers in maintaining soil. You can find out the answer from the previous page, page 206. Now let's talk about the organic farming. Okay. Now you must have heard about organic farming. Now it's a farming where chemicals are not being used. We are using the natural way of farming which we had done previously, which we used to do previously, right. Organic farming is a farming system with minimal or no use of fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, etc. and with the maximum input of organic manures. We need to add organic manures, recycled farm waste, use of bioagents such as culture of blue-green algae in preparation of biofertilizers, neem leaves, turmeric specifically in grain storage as biopesticides, right. So we need to follow the methods which are actually from the environment and are being used for the organisms, right. So we don't have to search for the chemicals, pesticides, all these are chemicals, herbicides. So it's better that if we opt for the traditional method of farming where we used to avoid using chemicals. Nowadays also organic farming, organic products are easily available. They are a bit costly, we have organic jaggery, then we have organic groundnut. They are a bit costly, but they are being produced without the use of chemicals. Okay children, now let's come to the next point, that is irrigation. What is irrigation? The supply of water to the crops is called irrigation. Water is necessary for the proper growth of plants and helps to increase crop yield. That is not so that okay, one fine day you realize that oh, I should give water to the plants. That should not happen. It should be given timely, and that too in right amount. It's very, very important. Different kinds of irrigation systems are used to supply water to agricultural land. They are wells, canals, rivers, tanks, check dams, etc. So, let us talk about the wells here. There are two types of well called dug wells and tube wells. In dug well, water is collected from water bearing strata. In tube well, this you must have seen, if you go to village you will see this tube well, water is collected from deeper strata and then through electric motor it is being extracted and supplied to the cropland. Then we have canals. In this system, canals receive water from reservoirs or rivers. You must have seen n number of Narmada canal. Okay, it is the distributaries or streams of Narmada river, and here through canals the water reaches to every village so that they are able to do farming. River lift system. In this system, water is lifted directly through the motor from the rivers to irrigate fields close to the rivers. Tanks. These are small storage reservoirs which supply water to field. Then we have check dams. These are used to stop rainwater from flowing away and helps to increase groundwater level and reduce soil erosion. If you visited, many rivers, at many river you will find the broad wall is being made. Okay, this broad wall, what it will do, it will stop that much level of water. Rest of the water will overflow and will continue in the river. So, different size walls are being made, broad walls, right, and farmers can actually carry out pisciculture. This you can find in our city itself on Mahi river. There you will see check dams where broad walls are there, okay, more in size and further less in size, further less in size. So, this way here at least that much amount of water will remain for longer period of time, and if water remains on the ground, then groundwater recharge will also be there and farmers can do pisciculture. Okay children. Let us talk about the last topic in crop production management, that is the cropping pattern. We have discussed first point, that is nutrient management, then we discussed about irrigation, and now the third topic here is cropping pattern. Now, don't you feel that when we are growing the crops we should follow a pattern? Yes. Previously, many years back farmers used to grow crop and they used to get only one crop, right? But here we have three ways by which we can grow crops. We can grow two crops simultaneously and we can earn more money, right? Previously when farmers used to grow only one crop, if that crop gets disease, maybe that crop is not able to grow well, so there was entire loss to the farmer and the farmer had to wait for the next season. So here different ways of growing crops are used for maximum benefit. These include mixed cropping, intercropping and crop rotation. Mixed cropping, just please pay attention here, mixed cropping is growing two or more crops simultaneously in the same field. Here the seeds will be mixed. Here the seeds which are chosen needs same nutrients. Okay, wheat plus gram, wheat plus mustard, groundnut plus sunflower, etc. This reduces the risk even if one crop fails. Then we have intercropping. You can see the diagram in the textbook. Just turn the page, you will see the diagram. Is growing two or more crops simultaneously in the same field in alternate rows. 2 rows of maize, 2 rows of soybean, 2 rows of maize, 2 rows of soybean. So, this way here what will happen? The advantage, right? The advantage here is that the insect of one crop will not go to the other crop, because the insects which are going to attack maize will be different, the insect which is going to attack soybean will be different. But yes, here before selecting we should ensure that their requirement, nutrient requirement is also different. Okay, we need to provide them different nutrients. This helps in better use of nutrients and prevents spreading of diseases to all plants of the same crop. Third is crop rotation, is growing different crops in the same field in succession, right? Growing leguminous crops. Now what we will grow first? Leguminous crops, that is the pulses. Now we will be growing this after growing cereal crops. That will help in increasing soil fertility, because we have to grow a crop, so suppose, which needs more magnesium. Okay, so if we grow the second crop, that also if it needs magnesium, then it will be the crops will be deprived of magnesium, the soil will be deprived of magnesium. So we have to grow second crop which needs other nutrient, but magnesium in less amount compared to other nutrients, right? So this way here soil will restore its nutrient on its own. If crop rotation is done properly, 2 or 3 crops can be grown in a year profitably. Okay, so have you understood children? Rest of the topics we'll cover in the next class.